It's okay. Um, it sounds like I don't need to introduce you, but for anyone who doesn't know Beverly, she is one of our most beloved artists who is in Cameron Art Museum's collection. She teaches at Duke right now. She was named one of the top 10 in painting in America in 2011 by Arts in America. And her work, we love Taxi Driver so much. There's such life on Beverly's canvas. Her work captures the depth of emotions of human experience and the stories and relationships of individual lives. And I'm so happy to get to introduce her to you today. And Beverly has a PowerPoint that she's put together from us. She's been painting furiously during COVID, and she's going to talk to us. So thank you.
Thank you, Heather. I appreciate it. I'm glad to. I wish I were there in person so that you could take me out to dinner for seafood, my favorite.
Yes.
And it's really good there after the talk. So, but maybe sometime in the future.
Yes, rain check, Beverly, definitely.
Great. I'm part of a seafood club at Duke, and what they do is they contact local seafood fishermen in the Wilmington area, and they catch whatever they catch, they bring it up fresh. And so every 2 weeks I get fresh seafood, whatever they catch. So you never know. But it's been divine. Oh my God, it's one of my favorite things.
Right.
Go Wilmington. All right. So anyway, I'm gonna start with this thing about life happening, and all of this work that I'm going to show you tonight has been done since March, since spring break ended at Duke, which was about mid-March, and they didn't allow the students to come back or us. And so I've been really busy. I just looked at COVID as a way to this is like the best thing that happened to me. So I wanted to share this quote with you because I've been living with it from the very beginning in March about we will not go back to normal, and normal never was. And our pre-corona existence was not normal other than we normalized greed, inequity, exhaustion, which I was feeling, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. We should not long to return, my friend. We are being given the opportunity to stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity in nature. So when I saw this, I was like, that's it. And Brene Brown happens to be, I've read all her books and everything, somebody that I like. But then upon further investigation, I learned that it was Sonia Renee's quote. Brene Brown, I don't know how this picture and her name got put with this quote, but it's actually written by this poet, Sonia Renee Taylor, which made me even more excited because she's a Black woman, and it's just such a powerful statement that really sums up, what I have felt during COVID. So we must vote, people.
Yes.
It's important. So I just threw this picture in with my vote shirt. And so, the thing is about when things like this happen, life happens, you're still responsible for, your family and your routine and things that you do. And so I included a picture of Renee. This is my oldest sister, Renee, who's mentally disabled. And I think Heather said someone had seen Raising Renee recently. It's available on Amazon Prime for free, but it's the story about me making a promise to my mother that at my mother's death that I would take care of Renee. And so my mother's been dead for 13 years now. And I'm Renee's legal guardian. So she told me she was lonely yesterday. She said, I'm lonely. I don't have anybody to talk to but Snowball. That's the cat. So I was like, oh God, I got to do better. Gotta like visit her more or something. And this is my dad. His name is Cardrew, which I have never ever heard of anybody named Cardrew before. But you know, he's a big, huge part of my life, he and Renee, and I usually try to visit them on Sunday to bring them Sunday dinner. I have this painting in here, this is a sad story. So somebody in Winston-Salem, actually a foundation in Winston-Salem, bought this painting, and it was at my home because I just finished it. And I put it in a box and shipped it. My gallery in New York, Betty Cunningham Gallery, had FedEx come and pick it up. Well, FedEx lost it. It's been over a month. And the painting is nowhere to be found. So we had to file a claim. I just hate its loss. It's like, I could have driven it to to Winston-Salem. So I regret that I didn't do that because now it's gone. And anyway, I stuck this picture in here because last year in January, I did a performance piece with Eiko, who is a Japanese dancer. She lives in New York. And we were talking about caregiving because she was taking care of her 94-year-old mother. She's flying back and forth to Japan because that's where her mother lived. And so anyway, I was like, well, let's do this collaboration, you know, and she was like, well, if you want to meet my mother, you need to come to Japan like now. And I literally dropped everything, got on a 22-hour flight and went to Japan, and which I've never been before, by the way. There are no Black people in Japan. Let me just say that. So I stood out like a sore thumb. And before I could get there, she was dead. Because it literally took me 2 days to get there. So we did this collaboration and I made this painting. I went to the funeral and the cremation and everything. And really the reason I put it in here is because it doesn't matter whether you're in Japan or America or, you know, Africa, people grieve the same. It's still a loss. And so we should keep that in mind as so many people die from COVID, that it's still a loss. It's somebody's mother, grandmother, sister, brother. It's a loss. So our humanity should step in and have us feel bad about that, feel sad about that. And then this is a painting that I made of Eiko. Like I said, she's a dancer, so she's really thin. This is one of the paintings I made that was part of the stage for the dance festival that happened. It's been 2 years ago now. So, and I don't know if you can see, but in my, I basically moved my studio to my house because it was at Duke. And so these paintings, I started missing my friends and I thought, oh, I'll just paint them. And I had this other painting up on my wall and I took it down in my living room and I started hanging my friends up just so I could see them. And so I'm still making them. I mean, I'm going to paint another little kid. This is my colleague, Richard Powell, that I painted. And this is my good friend, I forgot her name. That's how good a friend she is. No, that's me being old, people. But this is her and her dog. And then I started thinking about how COVID was making me feel. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to use this time to complain and moan and have self-pity and woe is me. You know, I mean, I did do that, but I put a time limit on it. Like, we can't waste this time. You don't have to teach. You're getting paid. You got to paint, right? I mean, it's a dream come true. So I started asking myself, well, how is COVID making me feel? And I ended up wrapping this scarf around my head that a friend of mine had given me. I've actually never worn this scarf because a friend of mine made it when she was in India. And I thought it was too pretty to like wear. But it was what I pulled out to wrap my head in, to just talk about, you know, feeling a bit claustrophobic, confined, you know, trapped, but with this beautiful opportunity to stay at home and just do what I love, which is paint, right? So, you know, I made these paintings. You know, this is me sort of peeping on underneath the scarf and having it be on my face. And then what happened was, this is my studio. It's just a spare bedroom here at my townhouse. Oh my God! Sorry. I know not what to say. Don't do that again. Okay. We're back. So this is my studio at home, and you can see I sort of hop around. I paint on more than one painting at a time, which I like to do because I'm waiting on something to dry, and then I like, you know, go over here and do a little bit. So then I went to a wedding in Puerto Vallarta, and the place where I was staying at this condo, there was this rope that was wrapped around. And at the time, I was like, "Gosh, this really is beautiful." And anytime I think something's beautiful, or like, you know, I just listen to my intuition, and I just snapped like only like 2 photographs of it, not really knowing where it would, if I would do anything with it, if it would just be a beautiful image or what. But what happened was you know, during COVID, I thought, oh, you know, my face is in there. You can't really see it because I wrapped that rope, sort of replacing the fabric now with rope. And then I started having, you know, my intuition is so loud at this point that, you know, I have to listen to it because otherwise I'm going to fail at stuff, you know. And it's smarter and just brighter and, you know, more honest and authentic than I am as a sitting human being. And so I was like, somebody said, so my voice was saying, you should order some rope from Amazon. I thought, you know, order no rope. What for? You know, and it wouldn't go away. It was like, order some rope, some thick black rope. And I thought, that's crazy. And normally in my normal life, when I'm very, very busy, I can just sort of say, go away. I can't afford it in my head. But because I was home for COVID, I was like, it just kept coming. And I was like, okay, how much is rope? Right? So I looked it up on Amazon. I was like, you know, and it was like, I don't know, $50. And I thought, okay, well, I can afford that. So I bought this rope, and I went in my spare bedroom and stood in front of the window, which is where the light is coming from. And I just did a couple of loops of that rope around my face, and it ended like this. It just sort of like the loop at the top. You know, it looks like I modeled it, but I did not. It just fell like this. And I took some pictures, and then I started making paintings from those photographs. So the sort of interesting thing about these images, because that rope is very thick and it's coarse, so it's not very pleasant feeling across your face. But the interesting thing, these were like the first 2 that I did, this one and this one. And it's interesting because, I think I posted one of them on um, Instagram, and it was really sort of interesting because some people thought it was my hair, my dreadlocks that, that I had just extended and wrapped around my head. And then, interestingly enough, all the Black people saw was the noose at the top of the screen, and, being hung, and Black Lives Matter, and, all the inequities that happen to people of color. So it was interesting because, I used to play with my hair. I used to put a towel on my head when I was a young girl so I could have long hair like Cher, and I would be in the mirror for hours, like flipping my white towel hair back and forth, and singing, "I Got You, Babe." So I like the idea that people are seeing this as my hair, but I also like the idea that people are seeing as, you're Black first, regardless of how much money you have or where you live or what kind of car you drive, whether you have a good job, work at Duke, you're Black first. And, I had that experience recently because I was pulled over. I've never had a speeding ticket in my life. And then recently, I was pulled over, and the cop was like, he was a state trooper. I was actually going to Greensboro to take my father some NyQuil, which he drinks. And I was pulled over, and he was like, "Is this your car?" So I was driving my Porsche, just so you know. It's a beautiful car. Okay. I saved all my money. I bought it. Okay. And so I was driving it, and he was like, "Is this your car? Show me registration, blah, blah, blah." And I've never had a ticket, so I have no record of anything except for, she's a great driver. And he was like, "Boy, I wish my job would pay for me to have a car like this." And, he said, "What do you do for a living?" And I mean, like, just, asking me a lot of questions that had nothing to do with nothing. And he said, "Well, you were speeding." And I said, "That's because you were running up behind me." He was in an unmarked car. And I felt like you were going to do me harm. I had just read this thing where this Black woman was in the parking lot of Walmart, and these two white males pulled up in a truck and basically shot in the car and killed her child. So this car, this young guy in this Dodge Charger thing was running up on me, and I thought, what is he doing? And boys like to race. So he said, "Well, I thought you were racing with me." And I thought, are you kidding me? It's a Porsche. You were driving a Dodge Charger. I would win. Anyway, but long story short, he gave me a speeding ticket, said that I was going 92. And, at 92, you could lose your license because it's considered a felony, when you're going that fast. And I said, "God, can't you give me a break?" And then he's like, "No, no, no," but I felt like he wanted to just put me in my place. That even though I was driving this really, really nice car that I loved and that he wanted, desired, but said that he would never be able to afford it on his salary, he wanted to put me in my place as a woman and as a Black person to say, well, you're not exempt. So it really hurt my feelings, honestly. It made me feel sad because I did think that I had a little bit of cushion around me. But he just reminded me that you're still Black, unfortunately. So I continue to make rope paintings, and just, I don't know, it's sort of interesting how they just sort of came over my face, the light from the window. This was, another rope painting that I superimposed tulips, which is one of my favorite flowers, on top of it, because it is a beautiful, ugly sort of mess we're in, with this pandemic and this time and this separation where you can't touch or hug or remain 6 feet apart. So, everybody has a COVID cut, or they let their hair grow out. And I was at home. This was so stupid. And I decided that I could cut my own hair. Okay. Bad idea, right? Why I thought I could do a job that I paid somebody over $100 to do for me, I have no idea. So my friend said, you should have just taken a nap. That's what you needed, a nap. And I took these scissors and I just went, and I cut my hair. So you can see it's still uneven. It's just, look at it. So this is what was left, my hair on the sink with these scissors. This is my COVID cut, right? And I painted myself a couple of times. It's, like, God, I can't believe I did that. But, it's too late because there's nothing, you can't glue it back. It's real hair. So anyway, that's my COVID. And I did what I normally do, is that I roped my friends into posing for me. I was really fascinated by the light from the window. And I had my friend Kim stand in front of the window, and the light was just hitting her body really beautiful. The funny thing about this painting is that she actually had on these like bloomers, like, panties up to her waist. And she looked like, she's 50 something. So she looked like a 50 something year old. And I was like, I slimmed her down. I made it into a bikini and just made it beautiful because I could, which she totally appreciates. And then she posed with me with the rope and, with the top off. And I made this painting. I was like, golly, she kind of looks, like Raquel. When I was a youngster, I wanted to be Raquel Welch too. I think she's dead now. But I wanted to be Raquel Welch because I thought she was so beautiful and, just tough, but sexy and all that. And so I was thinking, golly, Kim looks like Raquel Welch. And it was funny because I had taken a picture of me without my top and this rope wrapped around it. And I just looked like well, I'm not going to show it to you because I'm embarrassed. But let it be said that she wore this much better than I did. So, and then I had my cousin pose. This painting is still in progress. It's my cousin. The white part that's up in the corner is actually his hand. I haven't painted it in, but he's sort of pulling the rope across his face. And then I went back to that original rope and put it on this black body. And as you may know, I paint dolls. And this was a prison doll. And I think I was attracted to him. I've had him for a while. I won him on an auction. I was attracted to him because of the stripes and because they reminded me of the stripes in the bodies, across the bodies, and like the rope and repetitive and, basically being confined. We all know he's got a prison uniform on. So I made a couple of paintings of him. He's really one of my favorite people. When I went to Rome and lived there for a year at the American Academy in Rome, I took this doll with me, and I made paintings of him there. I stuck this in because, in the process of me painting my friends, this guy that I didn't know reached out to me on social media and said, "Can you paint my daughter?" And I was like, "Oh Lord, I hate commissions." But then I was like, "Well, how does your daughter look?" And he sent me a picture, and I was like, "Oh my God, she's adorable. Yes, I can paint her." So, so that's what this painting is. It's one of my favorite paintings. And then I was asked by the American Way, People for the American Way, if I would create a painting about enough of Trump, enough of Trump's ways. And this is my friend Kim's son, Sheldon. He lives out in Arizona. And he sent me this picture of himself where he was like, "This is my mood today." And I thought, okay, whatever. What am I going to do with that, right? But then when I got the call from people of the American Way to do enough, it was a perfect image to fit into that. So, and this is my cousin again, Lonnie, who lets me dress him up, and he's a good muse. But enough of Trump. So what the people for the American Way, what they're doing is they'll use these images to auction them off, and it'll be money for the Democrat National Party to put out posters and help them win in November. And another Black Lives Matter. This isn't done, this image, and it's in part because originally I put all the kids with masks on, and then I decided, no, I don't want it to be, they're Black kids, I don't want it to be about COVID, I want it to be about, praying for Black lives. And so then tried to wipe their faces off, which is why some of their faces look a little bit more distorted. Oh God, I'm just seeing now that one still has a mask on. Okay, I need to change that. So, but anyway, this is in progress. That's fabric, the part that says Black Lives Matter. It's fabric that I ordered from a company and basically adhered it to this canvas. And another Black Lives Matter painting. This is actually hanging up at Craven Allen Art Gallery here in Durham, who represents me and who has this painting on display there. And so just so you know how I feel about Zoom, this is new too. It's like, I'm so over Zoom. I swear, I mean, I have to have a drink every time I get off Zoom because it's like, so I just started this painting and, I stenciled in Zoom funk, and then I noticed it was crooked. So anyway, I'm working on it. I might do Zoom funk again so that nobody can tell it's really crooked. And that's it. Oh, wait, one more. This is my show. This is the announcement for my show at Betty Cunningham Gallery in New York City. It's going to be up to October 17th. And it's it's virtual. So I have a landline that never rings. I mean, I don't even know the phone number. So who's calling me? At any rate. So the show, if you go to the virtual room at Betty Cunningham Gallery, you'll see these paintings that I've just talked about, most of them, because that's where they are. And my dad is one of the faces that was hanging on the wall. Craven Allen sold this painting, and they framed it, and I happened to be there when they had finished framing it, and they said, "Can you take a picture?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So I love this painting. I sort of hate that I sold it because, I didn't get a chance to live with it long enough, and, that happens, but I miss it already. And as recent as yesterday, there's my dad. I took a picture of him, of him sitting in his easy recliner, and he let me take this photograph of him, which will likely become a painting because I bet it's somebody calling to ask me if I'm going to vote. Anyway, um, I just love this image of him just sort of looking at me. And I don't know exactly, I can't really articulate, what I'm picking up on or seeing in this painting, this image, but it seems, just beautiful to me. And so much like the taxi cab driver painting. So I'll just paint it and see what happens. I think that's it.
Oh my gosh, Beverly, that was amazing. And our chat is blowing up. Everybody thinks you should do stand-up comedy. Um, they think you're just like talking to their girlfriends, that this is just the best. One person said, I've had Zoom funk, but not tonight. Also, also, everyone wants to know who is calling.
I'm sure Tom Tillis calling to see if I'm voting for him. I live in Hillsborough, so I'm not voting for you, Tom. You should stop calling my house.
Everybody thinks your hair looks wonderful. They love your haircut. They love your COVID hair. And there are questions too. I'm going to see if I can ask you 3 questions. I only have 3 questions for you. I think Debbie wants me to ask this question too. I was wondering if you could talk a little, because we're so attached to Taxi Driver. We're so attached to your dad. Could you talk to us a little bit about your dad? I know in Raising Renee, we learned that you didn't actually meet him until you were 16. And I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about the painting that we own. There's so much going on in his face and in his eyes. There's that depth of emotion in your paintings. And we're also curious about the maps on the left-hand side of the painting. So if you could talk a little bit about Taxi Driver.
About the what?
The maps.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So, I really love to collage. In fact, in the Zoom font painting, I'm going to collage some clocks that make no sense in terms of time, because that's where we are. It doesn't matter. It's Monday, 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 and 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock every day, right? So I love to collage. And one of the things that gave me great pleasure was that this collage of a map, which my father, even today, if I say, do you know where this store is? And he'll say, yes, it's on the corner of, da-da-da and da-da-da, right? And he's like perfect at before Garmin and Google Maps and all of that, he has these maps in his head. And he can tell you where anything is in Greensboro, even now. And so I found this map and collaged it in because I wanted to be reminiscent of, what he used to do and, what he was as a profession. And also, I forgot I had these clocks in here. I put these clocks in here. I started putting clocks in several of the paintings of my dad because, I didn't know how much time we were actually going to have together. You know what I'm saying? How much, I couldn't be loyal to him when my mother was alive because she was there and he wasn't, right? So I had to be, and she didn't want to have anything to do with him. She was like, he's just going to disappoint you like he disappointed me. And so it wasn't until after my mother died that, I started going to see him on a regular basis and basically talking to him and getting to know him as a taxi cab driver. He had he had this huge basket of fake gold watches. They were all men watches. And I was like, are all these watches yours? And he said, no. He said, I take a watch if they can't afford to pay the cab fare. They give me their watch, and then when they get the money, they can get their watch back. And, but you know, he obviously, there was no getting back because nobody ever paid the cab fare. So, I mean, he used to give me lots of men's watches growing up. I remember that because somebody didn't have the money to pay the taxi cab. Um, but yeah, so, you know, I think, I mean, that's how he met my mother. He was picking her up and taking her across town to work as a domestic, and you know, they hit it off. So I'm so happy that I have the time now to really sort of love him and get to know him. I have no expectations of him, and you know, you have to forgive people because life is too short. If you don't forgive them, then you lose, they lose, nobody wins. um, So I decided that that I could do that and just start from a clean slate. So it's been glorious.
Simone wants to know how old your daddy is.
He's 94.
Oh,
He's going to be 95 March 26.
oh, that's my birthday.
Get out of here.
And our Director of Youth and Family Education.
Oh my God. We must have a party.
Yes, we should.
That would be great.
um,
Yeah.
so I have a question that's kind of related. Um, I love how you mine your family relationships and your relationships with your friends in your paintings. And sometimes you will paint the same person many different times over and over, like Renee, and you paint yourself and your father. I love the series of Renee and your mother in the laundry. And so, you know, and I also, we were talking about this earlier. Beverly has just done a painting of her father eating a peach. And it was so moving to me because it's so tender. You see Beverly's gaze as, you know, her father through her eyes as he's eating like the most delicious peach he's had all summer. And we all know what that tastes like, right? So can you talk about this, how you can paint the same person again and again, and each painting be so different, and there be such there is, I see when I look at your work, this emotional truth in each one. And sometimes it's layered, like sometimes there are different emotions, right, working at the same time, like the emotion that the person is feeling and the emotion that you are feeling as you look at them. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, well, you know, the thing that my father and my sister Renee have in common is that they both, you know, in a short period of time can look like a young boy or a young girl, can look like, you know, an old man, you know, can be fragile, can be, um, you know, a bucket full of emotions. And that's what I'm attracted to in painting with people in general. And I actually get to witness that often with my father. And because yesterday when I saw him, he seemed frail, like he was like, I'm going down, you know. And I've seen him before where he's like, you know, hey, bring me some ribs, you know. Um, so that's the attraction. And you know, that little voice that's inside of me that's very loud that I listen to, um, you know, it really tells me what to be attracted to. And I just go with it because I know it's going to be rich and, you know, talk about, you know, an authenticity that I'm totally interested in. And it's going to capture that human spirit that I'm looking for.
So here's a question for you, just as an artist. At what age do you think you realized that you had to really listen to that voice to be able to create art? How did you know? I mean, you know, like, right, we have to give ourselves permission
Yeah.
to listen to that intuitive voice, and it takes a lot of bravery,
Yes.
right, as an artist to do it. And I can imagine that you must tell your students that every day, and they're so lucky.
Yeah, well, they don't believe me.
Right.
What is the truth? Um, and I think it started when one of the toughest sort of pivotal points in my career was it's been over 20 some years ago, maybe 30 now, is when I was making paintings of my sister Renee and scratching her face out. I think I talk about that in the film. And that was sort of the first time that I was really listening to that voice. Um, in my small apartment, I just graduated, and that voice was saying, Renee, you and Renee both are marginalized. You're both in the margin, and you have so much in common. And then, so I was painting her kind of as a metaphor for myself, being an artist, being poor, and all the other things that a woman. Um, and so I was painting her as a representative of myself. And then in the midst of it, I'll never forget this. I just started scratching her face out. It was like it was an outer body experience, and it terrified me. And so I shut the door and went to bed because I was like, oh my God, what was that? You know? And I'll never forget my teacher, who was my friend, who taught me how to paint, Elizabeth. She said, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. She said, I know you're scared. Just go back in there and do it again. And I'm like, so it was really tough, but that was really sort of the first time that I was like, okay, I'm just going to follow this voice. And I don't know why at the time, I didn't know why I was scratching her face out. I didn't know why I was even angry, because it was all before that made sense to me on a conscious level. And now, it's like I listen to it sometime. I mean, reluctantly, I should say.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, but most of the time I adhere to what it's saying.
I think this leads into my next question. I read this wonderful quote um, that you said about your relationship with another one of my favorite artists, Faith Ringgold. And you said, when I first started painting, I
Mhm.
wasn't even convinced that anyone would really acknowledge me as an artist. It was Faith Ringgold who said to me, look at me, I'm a Black female artist. I reached out to her originally when I was in graduate school, and we became friends and remain friends today. I think that kind of mentoring is very important to young African American painters. How did Faith mentor you? What did she teach you?
Wow. I first met Faith when I was a graduate student at Penn State. And she came, I think, through the literature department as a visiting artist, not through our art department. And that's when I met her. And I was having such a tough time and experienced an incredible amount of racism at Penn State. Um, And, so I reached out to her and I said, can you help me? I'm dying here. I mean, they had really just sort of broken my spirit and I didn't want to paint anymore. It's really sort of a horrible story. And she invited me to be her assistant and come to Florida to the Atlantic Center for the Arts artist residency, uh, to just so I could paint with her for a month. And I did. And, you know, she got me painting again. I mean, I had literally said, I just can't do this, because I had had some bad advice from some people on staff at Penn State. So, but yeah, she made it possible. I mean, I'm just eternally grateful to her. And about 4 years ago, she gave me the Lifetime Achievement Award from her foundation, which is like unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
I still just
Incredible.
love her. I have a show coming up. It's a retrospective, actually, that's going to open at the Scottsdale Museum of Contemporary Art in 2022. And it's going to be a show of, you know, I'm fairly prolific as an artist, so we can't show everything, right? But it's going to be basically a survey of several of my paintings over the years. And the beautiful part about the exhibition is that it's going to include, Faith has agreed to, so I wanted to put my mentors in there too. So Faith has agreed to let her paintings be a part of it. And Richard Mayhew also, who was instrumental, even though he paints landscape, he helped me get through Penn State. And then there'll be another gallery that will have all the people that I've taught for the last 30 years who are practicing artists right now, who would consider me their mentor. So this exhibition is going to just be pretty swell because, you know, it's like generational of giving back and mentoring and, you know, just being there one-on-one, you know, for artists.
That's
So,
incredible. When does
yeah,
it open?
it opens in February 2022.
Okay.
So, and you see, I'm probably not supposed to tell this, but how many people we have?
There are
You
about
see,
31 people.
University of California Press has just agreed to do the catalog. So
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Anne just asked, is your retrospective traveling? We are very interested to know more. We
yes.
have a side conversation.
Yes, it is going to travel. I think it's going to, Sika in Winston-Salem is where it will come in North Carolina, and then it'll be in South Carolina, and then it'll go to Virginia.
Oh,
So
maybe.
far, that's just the preliminary, like, you know, we just sort of did a toss out and said, you know, where do you, I mean, it's a huge show. So part of the problem is that, you know, they can't house my work, my
Mhm.
mentors' work, and my students' work, most museums, because it's, you know, it's a lot of, we're talking about over 100 paintings. But yeah.
Some pretty big spaces. Simone says, the seafood, Beverly, come here. Oh my gosh, there's so many questions for you, and I'm hogging you. So I'm gonna someone asked, how do you come up with a concept collection? Are they lingering thoughts or something impulsive that comes to mind? Is there a method to the madness?
It's that voice inside of me. That's how I come up with it. I mean, it's, you know, I'm not in control. As you can see, I'm not in control. And it's a good thing, right? I do things like cut my hair off. So, you know, my inner voice is really loud and clear. And it's like, okay, tonight you're going to paint. And I just say, okay. I mean, I just surrender and go for it. So like today, you know, the idea of like putting the clocks in the Zoom funk, putting those clocks in there. And I have some fabric that says, I can't breathe, which I'll put over the mouth of that piece and, you know, just collage all that stuff down. But it's just, you know, it just comes, you know,
So,
what comes up totally comes out. And most of the time I am not ready for it.
yeah.
I'm like, what? Doing that? You know, and then I surrender because I don't have a choice.
So is it a process of discovery for you? Is it like a process of personal discovery when you come to the canvas?
I believe it is. I mean, I mean, I think my intuition is light years away from my conscious mind,
Yeah.
and I trust it, and so recently, one thing that happened recently was I was like, because I've always wanted to just work full time and make enough money to live off of. And I was like, how come I can't do that? I want to paint, and this idea in my head was like, I have to wait until I retire. And the number keeps going up. And I think you got to be 80 now before you can retire. So I was like, what is wrong? What's blocking this from being, my reality? And my mind said to me, my voice said, you are blocking it. You are standing in your own way because on some level you don't feel like you're worthy of it. You don't deserve it because, yeah, because that little girl inside of you that grew up in the projects and that you continue to protect, was like still there. She's still there. And it's okay for you to protect her, but you got to open up. You got to open up. You don't trust enough to open up. I can do it when I'm making art, right? But in my real life, and people would say I'm pretty open, open than most people, good, bad, whatever. But it was like, I had this huge revelation where I just like, every night before I go to bed, when I'm in bed, I take a deep breath. I inhale. And as I'm exhaling, I say, I'm one step closer to being open and receiving financial blessings and growth and notoriety and, big enough draws that I'm willing to put on to own, this gift that I have, this voice that I have. So it's happening. The gallery in New York just doubled the prices.
Wow.
So cab driver just went up.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Doubled all the prices of the paintings. So, which I was like, oh, am I worthy of that? Really? Somebody wants to pay
Yes.
$75,000 for a painting of my
Yes.
dad?
Yes. Wow.
So
Wow. There's so many comments. Can't read all of them. I'm trying. Let's see. Oh
I'm
gosh.
gonna
Here's a great question. Is there one piece that brings out a strong sense of emotion on your part?
Hmm. Hmm. I don't know. My favorites are um, the pieces that I'm working on currently. And, that's what I like the most. Um, I think that I'm really attracted. Remember the little black girl that I showed you that I said I was doing this as a commission? I think part of what I love about that painting is that, she reminds me of the little black girl that I would have loved to have been, with black dolls, which I didn't have any. All my dolls were white. I mean, she has, because she's 11 right now, she has so much more opportunity and so many more advantages than I had, with desegregation going on right when I started school and all the other things. So that's one of my favorite paintings. yeah, that I look at often
Yeah,
until, it's a commission, so it's not going to stay at my house. But I look at it. I speak to it.
it's
Yeah, hey,
gorgeous.
girl.
Um, Joanne asks, do you work from pictures? So the ones of your friends, are they done from photographs?
Yes.
Do you ever work
Every,
from live model?
I don't, because nobody wants to sit still that long. You know, I used to paint myself from the mirror, but you can only get this kind of pose. And I thought I needed to do more than that. so yeah.
Gloria asks, what is it like to get to the point that you can say finished about a painting? That's a great question.
You know what the paintings tell me all the time? They say, I'm done. It's finished. And I say, okay. And that's it. I mean, I really can't tell you how important that voice is, to listen to. Not only when you're creating, but, just in life in general, you know. I mean, I wanted to stay at home yesterday and paint, but that voice was like, you really need to go see your dad and see Renee. They really need you. Um, Physically. Calling them on the phone is nice, but they really need to see you. And so I went. I was just a little begrudging because I was like, I could be painting. But I did. I got over my little self and I went. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did because I wouldn't have that beautiful image of him, you know? So, yeah. And he was so grateful. He said, I need some money, Bev. He said, I got my hair cut. Some drug dealer in the neighborhood cuts his hair for $10. But they do a good job, so it ain't my place to say, can we go to the barbershop? So he does that. And then he pays somebody $15 to get the grass cut. But so he says he needs some pocket change. I think, what's pocket? I said, how much do you need? And he says, which is this whole thing in his head, the part, what I get was like, he's like, well, I'm not going to tell you what to take out of your pocket because, that's your money and you have to decide what you can afford to give me. So, if I say $50, he say, what about 100? So I say, if I say 100, he'll say, what about 200? So yesterday I gave him $250 to pay for that $10 haircut and that $15 worth of grass cutting.
You're such a good daughter. And now we all want him to come to the Cameron Art Museum. We want to feed him seafood.
You would love it. You know what he does with the rest of the money? I give him an envelope with, Bank of America envelope. And it's usually, I give him $200 or $300, which he calls pocket change. And he literally takes out the money for the haircut and the money to get the grass cut. And he might take $2 more, not much, and then he'll take the rest of it down to a safety deposit box at the State Employees Credit Union and stick it in there. So how do I know this? Because he gave me the key to the safety deposit box. And I was like, damn, these are my envelopes. He's like saved $40,000 worth of my money so that I can have something when he's gone. Can you believe he does that? So, and I keep telling, I keep trying to say, well, I got a 401, but this money is safe because it's in a safety deposit box. It's not at the bank, which he doesn't trust. It's in a safety deposit. And there's all my envelopes stacked up on a safety deposit box. It's this long.
Oh my goodness. I can't tell you how many people are saying we need to have another Zoom. Kimberly says, I have another Zoom. I could listen to this dialogue for hours. Thank you so much for a wonderful time. Wow, this is truly beautiful. A father's love is so unique. Everybody, another yes about we need to have another Zoom. This is like the fastest hour we have ever had in a conversation, Beverly. Incredible. I can't thank you enough.
Hey, Heather,
Is there,
I appreciate it.
oh, thank you. Anne, is there anything you want to ask Beverly? We can figure out how to get you out of mute life. I don't know.
Beverly, are your COVID paintings being actually exhibited anywhere? You said Betty Cunningham is virtually exhibiting them.
Yes, that's correct. Let me show you where they're being exhibited. My house has turned into, here they are.
Ah,
Oh, wait, did I do something wrong? Can you?
You're good. We can still
great.
see.
You're
you
great.
can see me? Okay. So, oh, wow, let me get
We
this.
would love to show them, and seafood can be involved.
Oh, that'd be
Lots
good.
of seafood.
Massively.
They're all stacked up. You see my cat is passed out
Yes.
for side. And then my friends,
Oh,
they're all up on the wall. And so, yeah, my whole house is like more COVID.
how many paintings have you painted since March?
It's interesting. You know, I don't know the answer because I haven't counted them, to tell you the truth. Because if I count them, I'll say, well, you don't need to paint any more paintings. You got your
Right.
house all stacked up full of paintings. You need to take a break. So, you know, I try not to pay attention to numbers.
We would love to show your COVID paintings, Beverly. We would love it.
Great.
We would love it.
That would be great.
Do we work with Betty Cunningham on that, or?
Well, it depends on when you want to show them.
Yeah.
So what's happening next is that I'll have a show at Craven Allen in Durham in November
Right.
14th. And I don't really know what he's going to show, but it'll be some of these paintings, but
Okay.
and then, you know, it just depends on where they are.
Right.
But yeah,
Thank
in the meantime, they're in my living room.
Okay.
So yes, you can contact me. That's what I
Okay.
should say.
Okay.
Okay.
And we're the ones with the seafood. Never forget.
No, I know. Love seafood. It's my favorite. I was trying to figure out a place to live, and the criteria was must have seafood, must have shopping and spas, because you know I like to go to the spa. And you know, must be easy to get to. So Wilmington.
And have a really great art museum. The answer is Wilmington.
I know. Gotta have an art scene. So yeah, very important.
We've got all those things. Okay, one more question. Donna Moore says, let's talk about the cat.
I know.
Do you just have one or two?
I have four.
You have four.
Yeah,
Four
and they're
babies.
all Persians.
They're beautiful.
So yeah, so a lot of cat hair. You know, so if you see me doing this, I'm just catching cat hairs, sort of blowing in the wind.
Donna says she's guarding your work so comfortably.
Oh, she is a he.
Oh, he.
Yeah, he's wherever I am, he is.
Oh,
You know, he wants to sit in my lap. You know, I go to bed, he goes to bed. I go to the bathroom, he goes to the bathroom. I mean, we're inseparable.
Beverly, thank you so much. And thank you everyone who joined us tonight. We're so grateful to have you here. This was truly the highlight of our week. Thank you, Beverly, so very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone. And we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Do I hang up now?
I can hang up for you.
You got control.